everybody. JP Monster, author, researcher, experiencer. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I've had a lot of extra subscribers recently, and I appreciate that. I don't intend to become a prima donna on here and expect to get 100,000 followers. There's a lot of people that don't understand the research that's being put out on my channel. So it's not something that's going to be a lot of glamour and going to attract just a general audience. It is a research channel, experiencer channel. And so some of the stuff, a lot of it won't reach a general audience for that reason. So a lot of the people subscribing are researchers and scientists themselves. So again, thank you very much. And so every one of you are very valuable to me, and thank you very much for coming on board. And to all the other viewers out there, some of the infrared pictures that I have uploaded, people have said, what is your technology? It's very simple. As I've said, I keep it simple, low budget, low cost, easy. You get this in some of the ghost research television, reality television shows, but they try to keep a low budget so as to show the general audience and skeptics that what they're getting, it's harder to disprove something if it came from low technology, low budget. So what I use is an application, app program, an app as I call it, which is uploaded to a disused video device such as an old mobile phone with high pixel, high resolution, pretty solid camera, pretty good camera, or a tablet. You know that it's a genuine infrared app simply by testing it. You can aim the remote, any TV remote, at the camera, and if you can see the light coming from the remote, then you know you have, you're seeing the infrared light from a TV remote, then you know you have a genuine infrared application, or genuine infrared receiving device. It's a little complicated what the application does. The program filters out, it turns your camera, your LDS cell, it tunes it into certain wavelengths and bandwidth frequencies, light spectrum frequencies, and filters out all the others. It doesn't use an actual filter that lays over. Some people use just a physical filter. Some use actual high-tech infrared cameras, but then those are also thermal cameras. The problem with that is it's twofold, is that it can't be reproduced by the general public. I try to keep my research low-tech so that you, the public, can reproduce these results yourself. For instance, the experiment I just gave you. Some infrared apps that you upload to devices like tablets or phones are fake and phony. Again, the easy way to find out is you just take any television remote and you aim it at the camera, and if you don't see the light coming from it, because a television remote emits an infrared light from an infrared, it's called a light emitting diode, and it infrareds this infrared light spectrum we don't see with our eyes. So it's very simple way to prove that the stuff I'm using is genuine. Now, it does come up with a funny green hazy look in the photos. Some have said I've done infrared work, and I don't see that in my, I don't see that commonly with infrared cameras. The simple fact is it is infrared because it's seeing in a light spectrum that we don't see. That's one of my kittens. That's Babe. I called her Babe. She's going to sit in this video with me for some reason. Hello, sweetie. Okay. So anyways, on that note, you know, and I said that a lot, again, I've reported that my infrared pictures have been taken in a woodland, specifically by a cell phone tower. So again, if any of you out there with not a really big budget can get out there, please do so. If you live near a cell phone tower, only do this if you're not a novice, you're not an amateur, but someone with some experience in this area of research, and you're prepared to go do this. And I say, try it at home. Use discretion. Be careful. Wandering around in the woodlands can be dangerous in today's times with gangs and things like that. Please go with someone else with you. Use bicycles if you can. Motorcycle would be ideal, or a car. Going on foot, if you need to get out of an area quick because you get some gang activity in the local area, you're not going to be able to do it. Don't carry guns. I don't carry a gun. I don't own a gun. Don't do anything stupid. Don't threaten anybody. And if anyone asks what you're doing, it's very simple. You don't have to say to the public, "Hi public, I'm taking pictures of aliens." Interdimensional, invisible aliens that are seen through our infrared devices that may be inhabiting this planet. No, you just, anomalous environmental research, AER. You're not lying to them. Especially if you get caught by the police and they want to know what you're doing. Don't go into a cell phone tower perimeter where there's a fence. Don't go in there. I didn't do this. You can walk around the outside of the fence. If there's a woodland about, then that's fine. Okay, you can go to it's safe to go around it, then go around it. If the cell phone tower is located in an urban area, be careful. You don't take your pictures around playgrounds or schools or where children are. If there's a local school within 500 meters of a cell phone tower, don't go there. Don't try to take any pictures where children are about. Don't do that. In any case, or neighborhoods. Just find a cell phone tower out somewhere with a woodland by it, and if it's safe to do so and permittable, then go out there and take as many as you can. The idea is to get you to reproduce the results I have. I'm trying to understand something here. Are these entities hanging around cell phone towers specifically, or are they just in certain woodlands here in England? If that being the case, what's significant about England? Are they doing this in America? Is this happening somewhere in Canada? Is it just specifically cell phone towers do emit radio and electromagnetic waves, which are combined into a radio-electromagnetic transmission? That's very significant, because ordinary radio transmission towers just emit radio waves. Cell phone towers emit both. And there's been a lot of research done by a professor in Canada called Professor Hutchison, where he's combined radio waves and electromagnetic fields with the equipment he's produced, generators, where he's managed to get living things to levitate, like frogs, stuff that you wouldn't think has metal would levitate. And he's also caused metal to bend and melt and seem to levitate and float in what's called the Hutchison effect. So there's something very weird about radio waves combined with magnetic fields. And is it having an effect in the environment where it's causing some kind of a thinning of our veil of our reality somewhere, where the speed of light really isn't so strong? As I've said in my research, I've discovered through my own observation, our dimension seems to be covered in an envelope. A light barrier is what it is, where the speed of light governs our reality, roughly 186,000 miles a second. Now that quantum field or quantum light particles radio itself is a form of light, so it's not just light we see, it's light we don't see, like radio waves is a light. So the infrared camera is picking up light that we don't see, but we may be seeing into another reality, because perhaps this saturation of the environment from a cell phone tower is somehow thinning or causing a mass reduction in the light spectrum in that space-time. So it's pretty heavy stuff. And if you can control, as Professor Mallet at the University of Connecticut pointed out, he's the one that came up with the time travel formula. He believes he can use thousands of lasers fired at the same time, but creating a vortex. This will bend space-time. He says very simply, if you control light, you control time. Well, I followed his research and his formulas, and I looked into that with the research done by E.J. Gold with his quantum crystal amulets. Sounds like pseudoscience, but they do have an effect on the environment. I have recreated these devices and even upgraded them. Other videos I have spoke about the effects of what we saw, what happened. I created one of E.J. Gold's devices, and it uses Nikola Tesla's research in crystal radios, but also has an extra component. These aren't just crystal radios. These are crystal radios with electromagnets connected to them. So we have like small electromagnetic radio wave generators. Now, the effect was my son Hobie and I were out in the backyard messing with one of those things. And then I heard my son Tanner call out to me, "Dad," and we both heard it very clearly. And he was not in the house. An hour later, he was in the house and he said, "Dad," exact same way. And what he was telling me was the internet was turned back on. So we heard an echo in time from the future. That's again the thinning of the veil. That's something to do with manipulation of light here, through the manipulation of radio, which is a form of light. It's a saturation of radio and electromagnetic waves in a space-time environment is somehow thinning out the light of this reality, causing a warp or tunneling through space-time, where we get kind of a crash, where other events or other realities begin to seep through. That's the theory. Or these are just extraterrestrial beings that we're seeing from another dimension who are hanging out in that woodland for their own purpose, and have allowed me to take these pictures. And that's a lot of the personal experiences I have felt. They're like, you may take these pictures. Okay, here, and I've got them. But being scientific, don't rely on my psychic sense alone. It may be that other thing as well. It may be that they're just hanging around. They're in that space-time in another reality, in a parallel dimension, and for some reason the cell phone tower is causing a warpage in space-time, thinning out, and we'll call it creating a window. It's creating a window into another reality. And that window, I'm getting over 150, some are very clear, pictures of extraterrestrial-looking entities that even the hard skeptics have looked at and admitted they're seeing. And I've been accused of putting alien masks in the woods. This is an alien. I've had people say that to me. I've been accused of putting a mask in the woods. And I'm like, it's interesting you're saying that. I'm like, here, one, you're admitting you're seeing something there. Some people won't even admit they see anything. I just see leaves and trees. They won't admit anything. To dispel that theory easily, researchers have looked at the photos and found they're not corporeal. Whatever they're looking at isn't solid. They can see in the infrared pictures the leaves and trees are solid. And this one guy used 3D imaging where he was trying to disprove the pictures and debunk them and say that what it is he was saying they were rendered pictures, which means he was suggesting that if you render a picture and fake it, this guy was saying that if you use a 3D software to make the picture three-dimensional, you'll see across that, you'll see the flat drawing will come up like that, and the rest of it will be three-dimensional. In other words, it'll pull the rendering right off the page. What he got was all of the entities came up three-dimensional too, meaning that they are there, they're ghostly, but they're not. I don't believe that we're dealing with something dead. These aren't dead things, okay? But getting back to the psychic side of it, yeah, I felt they were like, here, you may do this. But having felt called to that woodland, and through my spirit box research, the PSB-7, the voices over the box was them, and they were saying in English, "We're in the woodland by the tower." And then that's what took me down there in 2015, and then I got those incredible pictures. Now, I didn't know what I was going to get in the pictures at first. I didn't know. Humanoid-looking things, or people, or when these mantid-looking creatures came up, these giant praying mantis creatures, or some were 3 foot tall, some 7 foot tall. Some looked like a cross between human and aliens. Then some of these look like reptilian-looking beings. It was like you get one, you get two pictures would be extraordinary on its own right, but to get over 100 to 150, you are proving the scientific method. There's something there. There's something to be researching about that. But I alone, if it died with me and the research ended with me and no one else did this, then that would be a tremendous tragedy in the ufology world and the research of entity research. It would be an awful waste. It would be terrible. So I do encourage you to try to do this, but be experienced at this. Now, I would really rather see people who've never had any claim to any ET contact or UFO experience or claim to alien abduction. I welcome anybody, but I'd like to see those really hard-nosed mutual UFO network people show up and try this. Having been through all their training, they try to keep everything black and white. If they get the same results, then we're gonna. It's like a fire. It's just gonna keep spreading like a fire. It's gonna keep going. Go this direction. Before Dr. John E. Mack, the psychiatrist, was killed here in England in 2003, he was hit by a car. The great doctor was headed that direction, in interdimensional contact. In all of his research of people who had been said they were abducted by aliens and whatnot, he came to the conclusion that this is from another dimension. And so that's my conclusion. Ask me what planet they're from, and I'm going to say to you, forget the planets. Just forget all that crap about what planet, what name of planet, where in the galaxy. They may have originated from a planet, but they're in another dimension. That's really where this is at. They're all around you. They're all around you. They're all around your reality. They're all around you. And if I never make a video again, and if this was my last video, and if I just drop dead tomorrow, touch wood, please look in this direction of your research for entity extraterrestrial contact. They're in another dimension. Okay, they're there. They're all around us. This is the thing that seems to really wind up and irritate suspected national security agents, CIA people, is they really get, the men in black really come out on you on this one. You start to say from other planets, they leave you alone. And that's a trick question they'll throw at you on public Facebook. They'll pretend to be experiencers, undercover agents, and then they'll say, tell us, where do your reptilian lovers come from? What planet? And if you sit there and start talking about a planet, maybe they did originate from a planet at one point. But if you don't put dimensions or other dimensions within it, they'll just dismiss you as not being really something to take a look at or keep surveillance on. But you start talking about other dimensions, they know where they come from. They already know this. Then that's really where I've had the biggest issue. I've had the videos ripped off or taken down. I've had people threaten me, and they say, "Don't threaten my life." Don't say the interdimensional, and they'll whip my ass hard on Facebook. Private messages, just absolute burn me to death, and threats and anger, and it's like verbal bloodshed all over the place, and really give me a hard time if I start talking about the other dimensions, that they're from another dimension, and I start to present the research. I mean, they're really frightening. They're really awful. Men and women alike. They're like, we're gonna find you. We're gonna kill you. We can make you disappear. We can take your life from you. We'll get your kids. I mean, they really go off the nut about that, because they have the evidence and they know it too. Get out of the field of just taking pictures of UFOs. I mean, they found a way to get in our dimension. So with the technology that's way ahead of us. In my observation, firsthand in the woodland, we're dealing with some kind of a civilization that has a technology that can... They're not cloaked like someone suggested. They're not like cloaking devices. They're running around invisible like in the movie Predator, hiding in the tree. It's not like that. They really are in another veil of space-time. They really are coming out of other realities. There's no cloak. This isn't the case. This is not like invisibility power. It's not like that. They are literally sliding in and out of our dimension. And they're all around us. And I think you can appreciate why some out there in some governments would want to keep that quiet. I can appreciate that some people are quite paranoid, frightened, full of anxiety and in panic. Panic would probably break out across a lot of parts of the world if that were revealed, simply because there's really nowhere you could get away from it if you didn't want to be involved in that. You'd be thinking everywhere you look, really mentally ill people. And listen to me, I don't want to force this subject on the public in that way. There's a lot of mentally ill people out there that would not benefit from this particular knowledge. And it would not be a good idea to bring to them. So if you have anyone you know like that, of a nervous disposition, they need not apply but stay at the door. Be a doorman, like in a bar, just kind of keep them from coming in. Don't come in here, you know. I know I put public stuff out there, but I'm mostly ignored by the general public, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And so I know that just the core researchers are looking at this, and that's a good thing too. And I think some of the intelligence community would probably appreciate what I'm saying in this video also. I don't want to ram this down the throat of John Q. Public, but I do want you to take extreme caution in who you bring it to or what you share it with. You know, I mean, we have our own little community of researchers, and eventually this will grow, and through the 21st century, in time, it'll be taught in preschool, elementary school, along with solar system and name the 9 planets, 10 planets, whatever they've learned by then. Who was the first man who were the first people to colonize Mars in their history books. They're also going to be talking about, yeah, there was those early day researchers, and this is what they came up with in the early 21st century, and we now know that these dimensional fields are all around us. It'll be like in a 10-year-old's textbook. But you know, we have to push on. We're the Wright brothers, is who we are at Kitty Hawk, and we are Thomas Edisons, and we are the Nikola Teslas, and we are these people. We're von Braun building the first rockets. We're these people, and it'll be in the history books one day that, yeah, there was a big federal law about keeping some of that stuff quiet, and these guys are getting out there, knocking it, cracking it open, and making contact. There it was. But it's a slow process. Do not ram it down people's throats. Some researchers are very famous. I'd like to say to Dr. Stephen GREER, I do respect your work, and I was a little critical before. Thank you for some of the stuff you've been putting out there. I follow what you're saying. Good job. Keep up the good work. Dr. GREER, good job. And we benefit from having you in the field. We do benefit from your research and what you say. Good job. Okay? Good work. And I think I'll close this video down on this point.